Welcome to my virtual cottage, and welcome to Fansview Fridays. This is a weekly series where we talk about conventions from the past. Fansview was a website hosted by Kevin Lillard. Kevin Lillard is a legend here in the anime fandom community. Kevin Lillard ran this website to document cosplayers, guests of honor, panels, and conventions from East to West Coast and sometimes Canada. So, this week we'll be looking at Anime Week in Atlanta. So Kevin did something crazy for this weekend. Not only he attended Anime Week in Atlanta, he also went to NonDiscon over in Colorado. So he attempted two conventions on the same weekend, just 10 days after 9/11. So if you see this banner right here, it shows the Red Cross Salvation Army, how you can donate. This is a sign of the time, a time capsule of what conventions were like immediately after 9/11. Okay, let's see here. Anime Week Atlanta, September 21st to 23rd, 2001 at College Park, Georgia. Here are the Saturday morning costumers in Georgia. So we're going to go ahead and just take a look. And like I said, if you recognize any of these fandoms, please shout them out. Looks like we got Vash over there. Next page. Maybe we can get a few more to load. Oh no, it's not loading. And that's just one of the downsides of just going to archive.org, because a lot of Kevin's photos are saved by archive. A lot of his reports are saved by archive.org. Oh, now we have photos. But all the photos that he's taken throughout the years can be found on Anime Cosplay or American Cosplay Paradise. But I do like looking at these photos right here because it also gives you a simulation of like just going through his website. And I'm just very happy that we have a service like archive.org where we can visit sites from like the past, because one of my goals is to just preserve what Kevin brought to fandom. Okay, we got Rating Bean, we got Reetsco, Sailor Jupiter. Oh, we were just talking about Outlaw Star. It's so nice to see a Gene Starwind. Eventually, I will need to watch Outlaw Star. Oh, we have Camoy from X 1999. I was super into the series when it came out when I was in university. I was also into the manga too because it was just so pretty, and it had like this whole dystopian end the world kind of thing. You had like Clamp and their crazy pairings and relationships. I know a lot of people give Clamp a lot of credit to like Boys Love and whatnot, and the occasional like Yuri this and that. But you know, Clamp, sometimes your pairings be crazy. And if any of you recall Cardcaptor Sakura, you know which pairing I'm talking about. Like, why, Clamp, why did that exist? Why did that engagement need to exist? Like, the one time I was very happy for a westernized change. Like, yeah, she's afraid of the teacher. Yeah, I'd be afraid too if a teacher was like, hey, want to get married? Like, no, I'm freaking scared of you. And that is the only good point that I will give to the Nelvana dub of Card Captors. Otherwise, like, yeah, just give me the original. That's what I grew up with. Like, I'm sad to say I don't have the same kind of nostalgia like a lot of millennials have for the dub Card Captor Sakura, because I saw the original first. So I don't have that experience of like, hey, Madison. And Madison just kind of like just having like this Valley Girl, low Valley Girl kind of accent. Or like, hey, Sakura, where Karo-chan is like this surfer person. I remember watching that for the first time and just thinking, well, my brother and I were watching the dub for the first time, and he was like, wait, isn't Karo-chan a girl? Like, no, buddy, they're both boys in both incarnations. Carol is just voiced by the legendary Aya Sakawa in the original, who voiced Sailor Mercury and Cure Moonlight. Okay, we got Princess Serenity over there. I love those wings. We have Iron Mouse, the original, except no substitutes. Things that will get me canceled as a VTuber. Oh, we got Galley. That's amazing. Okay, we got the lone Star Trek cosplayer in the anime con scene. I do love me some Slayers. Oh, we have Miyaka and not Miyaka. We have Mars and Tamahome. It's like my best girl and my first anime one of my first anime husbandos. I really should start like answering like evil Tamahome is like one of my first anime husbandos because every time I mention Tuxedo Mask as like my first anime husbando, people are like he didn't do anything. Oh my lord. It's 2001 and we got a JoJo. I actually started watching Steel Ball Run over on Netflix. And I remember when I had friends back in '07 who were cosplaying from Steel Ball Run. And they were explaining the concept to me like, you know what, I kind of want to read this. And there's actually a character, I forgot who it was, but I loved her character design. And I hope we see her in the cast because like I still want to kind of cosplay as her. It's one of those things like I think her name starts with a V. A friend of mine recommended me to cosplay as her, but again, this is back like over 19 years ago. I forgot the character name, never read the manga. But it's like one of those things like I'll know it when I see it. I did read series 8 and that there's a character who uses a Lady Gaga stand Born This Way, similar to the Gaga where she's like half woman, half motorcycle, and that's the stand. I still have the navy fabric somewhere. I just don't know if people. Well, you know what? You know what? Nothing ever stopped me from cosplaying as characters people don't know. But sometimes it's really awkward to be at a cosplay gathering and you're from the fandom and people don't know exactly what you are in the fandom because people have only seen the mainstream version of it. If that makes any sense. Like, for example, I'll be at a League of Legends gathering and there will be a lot of people who are only familiar with Arcane. So we have like majority of Arcane cosplayers at the League of Legends meetup. So I'll cosplay as Jinx, and I cosplay as Jinx in her Mafia skin. And I love the Mafia skin. It's adorable. It's cute. And I'll show up and like, wait, you're not Jinx. I'm like, yeah, I am. It's like one of the first skin sets, you pleb. Like it even baffles me that there's Arcane fans who aren't familiar with like the many skins of League of Legends. Like guys, like if you're into something, just get into it. Plus, there's a lot of cute like skins with like I don't know. I'm just a sucker for like a lot of the League of Legends skins. Hey, do we have any more photos here? Nope. Okay, if the next two pages are blank, we're gonna go ahead and move forward. All right, looks like it's all blank. Oh, not this one. Oh, this is like an original design of Saturn. I actually knew of a few folks who cosplayed as this rendition of the Sailor Senshi. It's based off of fan art. I don't know who originally did it, but I actually knew someone who did a Uranus and Neptune version of this outfit. I've never seen anyone do the yeah, Saturn version of this outfit. Like one of these days, like if I can find a fabric, I want to like make this version of yeah, make this version of like Mars or something. Okay, we're gonna look at more costumes here. Oh, we got Handmade May, and we have her plug. Okay, we got like Cardinal Hentai. Oh, we got Princess Pluto. I do love me some Princess Pluto. I'm biased because I use a cosplay as Princess Pluto. Still got the costume. Maybe I'll wear it again. Who knows? Yeah, that's smart. I love it. We had the mom from Child's Toy. I love it. Yeah, Vash and Bumblebee. I love it. Oh, it's this jerk. Yeah, Johnny Otaku has quite the reputation in the anime community. Like, if you, it's free to watch on YouTube. It's a documentary called Otaku Unite, and they interviewed him. They kind of followed him like around conventions. That guy's a creep, and it's well documented too. So there's no hearsay on my part. Like even watching his like burlesque quote unquote Inuyasha, I'm like, no, thank you. I'm not shaming or anything. It's just like, no, thank you. It's just one of those things that's like, don't complain you didn't win anything. Oh, that's cute. It's like one of those things. I'm not sure it's from, but I like the concept. I like the colors, like the hot pink. Okay, looks like we don't got anything there. All right, we have like our Star Trek friends. I also just remember like back in the day, like it was very frowned upon to cosplay from like things that were not anime related. Like Kingdom Hearts opened the doors like yeah, you can bring Disney to anime conventions because Kingdom Hearts. Oh, that's a nice Boba Fett. Let's got Mega Man over here. Oh, I love that Utana. Yeah, there's some pretty awesome cosplays here. And remember, this is 2001. Is that a horror? Because hello to you. That was bad. Please, by all means, feel free to bash me in the comments for my bad puns. Oh, I love this Ryoga. It's like, where am I? Of course, it's always nice seeing kimonos at anime conventions. Okay, looks like that's our stopping point for photos, sadly. All right, it looks like we got more photos, and check out the costumes from late Saturday afternoon. Yeah, Kevin was busy. Oh, I love that Moogle. It's so adorable. I have Moogle bias. That's an amazing Lulu. Okay, I love how they did the Barrett. Again, context. This was the early 2000s. We didn't really have much to work with back then. And sometimes I wonder if we're gonna like fall in back into that trend again. Because like, hey, buying costumes online now is really expensive. And I just went to my local fabric store, and they don't do discounts, and you have to pay everything at full price, which makes me sad because like, oh man, I miss like the Joann's discounted coupons. So I think if I'm getting fabric here in Southern California, I'm just going straight to the LA Fabric District. And I'm one of those cosplayers that I need to touch and feel the fabric. I have to see how it photographs before I purchase. some solid costumes at AWA. I've never been personally, but I've heard good things about it, and I actually have a lot of friends over in Atlanta that I'd like to meet and hang out. Haryana, if you're listening to this, you're one of them. I also know I got like my friends Pocky Princess Darcy, Daryl, um, up all there over in the ATL. Okay, nothing there. All right, two actors made their first convention appearance, and who might that be? Making their first anime convention appearance at Anime Weekend Atlanta were two voice actors featured in ADV Films Productions. Hilary Hogg, a computer sales rep who has played Nene Romanova in Bubblegum Crises 2040, and Kira Vincent Davis, a guitarist who plays Ruri Hoshino in Martian successor Nadeshiko, and Dota in Sosa Hunters. Give dubs a chance as I'm too lazy to read, Hogg said. I don't understand why anyone would want to read subs. I read subs. I need the job. And Vincent added about dubbed anime. If anyone doesn't like it, they can go home. It's Random Person. I'm great. We are looking at Anime Weekend Atlanta 2001. This is what anime conventions were like 10 days after 9/11. Hogg said she likes playing characters who are not like her, while her lead role in Master of Mosquedin was not like her. Nene was a lot like me because she was loud and annoying. While pursuing an acting career in LA, friends encouraged her to try voice acting. Then, after she moved and to Houston, they responded to an 80 Films ad for voice acting auditions. I was hired. They were kind enough to call me back, she said. What does she do to get ready for a recording session? I can't say I do a lot of preparation, but I do it subconsciously. When I do Nene, I eat a lot of juicy fruits and hot tamales all day. I I Nene changed a lot in the series. She was young in the beginning, and then with all the battles she, she got more mature. Well, Vincent Davis has gotten all kinds of crazy roles like the princesses and slime balls and all kind of strange creatures. The tacitum Ruri from the Desco is her best known role. I enjoyed Ruri. It was sort of a 12-year-old Spock from Star Trek. Her character developed into being a little more emotional. When Vincent gets a role, I don't do a lot of preparation. I try to drink hot tea when I come in. During my 45-minute drive to the studio, I think about the role and try to get into character. Vincent Davis thinks there's more to Ruri than Dota, who she described as always being a ditz. Yep, 10 days after 9/11. So we're at Anime Week at Atlanta. And this is just was like, and looks, yeah, this was just all happening like in less than 2 weeks after. Since the English language release of the original Oh My Goddess series, the lead roles of Bill Dandy and Keiichi have been identified with actor Scott Simpson and Juliet Cesario. That ends with the acquisition of the English language rights to the new generation of Goddess films by Pioneer Entertainment, which plans to recast the series with different actors. Simpson and Cesario will stay busy as actors with the You're Under Arrest TV series and running the Theater Exchange Society in North Carolina. And there will be more anime roles ahead, but the Goddess characters won't be part of their future. Simpson is not bitter or angry over the change. We hope that everyone shows the same openness to them. We were asked, "Are we disappointed?" Yes, we were, but it's a standard part of the business anyway. More Beldendy is a great thing. So Simpson will continue to work on more anime roles, exercising a unique skill of giving a convincing performance within the limits of animation that's already completed. A lot of my friends who are brilliant theater and film actors have a problem with it. One actor said, "I don't think my character should be angry there, but you can't redraw the face. We call it egoless acting." Cesario got a chance to stretch her range in the dub of Blue Submarine number 6 when she voiced Mutio, the enemy fish girl who befriends the male hero. It was a challenging role because she doesn't speak. There were parts when she had to growl and hiss. And rather than reuse a Japanese voice track, the dub producers chose to have Cesario make the sounds in English. It was lots of fun. My director, Scott Houlet, led me through this. In your early acting training, your teacher tells you to act as an animal, and I got used to that. Since Scott was also in the show, it was like a dark version of Belle and Kay. And Cesario has moved from anime to video games in playing Sarah Bryant, a real warrior, but after playing softer roles, it was nice to be able to kick butt. All right, so let's take a look at the Saturday night costume contest. We'll try to get as much through as, oh my god, cutie honey! Ah, Chichiri, that's so adorable. Yeah, check these out. I love that card capture Sakura. And we also get Inuyasha, all furry-fied. I appreciate that. We have Katsi and okay, yeah, I know how it's Katsi, okay? There's some anime characters that Sailor Moon characters specifically. Okay, that's not a Haro. That is character from Digicaret. I forgot the name of that balloon guy who kind of looks like a Haro. Oh, we got Evangelion folks. Oh, we have rival schools. Ray Earth. Ah, Lady Oscar, that is amazing. I do have a Lady Oscar cosplay. I doubt it fits me. I only wore it once. Yeah, I regret only having worn it once. Maybe if I lose some weight, I'll fit back into it again. We'll see. Okay, looks like we just have broken images, so we'll just go forward and check out the winners of the cosplay contest. Okay, best in show, we got Lulu. That is an amazing Lulu, by the way. Oh my god, Choo Choo! Then we have Yue from Cardcaptor Sakura. And let's see, we have Escaflowne, got Squall. Yeah, that is a nice prop. Hmm. I kind of wish they also like mentioned like who was judging the contest too. Ah, this is amazing. Because I'm always curious to see like who has judged and whatnot. All right, there were costumers who hung out in the halls after dark. And I think this is our last set of like cosplay photos. Oh, Miyaka and Toski. Toriko. I do love me Toski. And after all this time, I really think I should cosplay as like evil Tamahome. Just lean into my they them energy. Oh, we got Subaru. Yeah, try again. That reminds me, I need to catch up with the latest series. Oh, Lupin and Fujiko. Oh my god, it's a cactuar. I love it. I know this is like from like an H manga. I don't know if I could say it out loud because of the algorithm, but the gal in the red and the black here actually reminds me of my next idol outfits. It's supposed to be like spooky based. Okay, I might know this person, but I won't say it out loud. I do like the cat ears though. Oh, we have Kozu. I do appreciate like representation of season two outfits when various characters are getting their own Rose Bride outfits. Okay, let's see if we have more. Okay, no more. Okay. The old hands of the industry spoke about their careers and previous week's events. The third annual Speed Racer get together at Anime Week Atlanta saw the return of Corian Orr, the voice of all the dub show's female characters, and Peter Fernandez, who voiced Speed and Racer X and wrote the scripts. Along with Jack Grimes, the third surviving member of the four actor group that dub much Go Go Go, they're spending time on Nostalgia Circuit. The three actors were planning to attend a Speed Racer reunion in October, and Fernandez stays busy tracking the construction of replicas of the Mach 5 racing car, of which two had been wrecked, he said. Oh no. Fernandez is still a busy actor, with his direction standing out on the Courage the Cowardly Dog series shown on the Cartoon Network. It's better paid now than the 100 he got for working on Speed Racer, cash that he had to split with the extra actor he hired for the cast. In the 1960s, actors dubbed their parts into short loops of film. Now it's done with computers, and part of the newest technology is the band system. In this method, the dialogue is pre-timed, and the actors are expected to match the lines they must deliver to a scrolling display on the video monitor. You get an okay performance, but you don't get a really involved performance, Fernandez said. That's why some of the dubbing now is really flat. Both Fernandez and Orr live and work in near New York, and they were in the city when the terrorist attacks struck on September 11. Oof. Fernandez said that he was driving to work over the Tappan Zee Bridge in northern New York, about 20 miles from the World Trade Center, and he saw the smoke and the crashes, but he didn't realize what had happened until he turned on his radio and heard a news report on the attacks. Orr said he had a friend who worked for the World Trade Center 7 floors below where one of the airliners hit. On the day after, New York was silent and everyone was walking, partly because the subway was closed and partly because no one wanted to be alone in their homes. British writers spoke about the ups and downs of UK fandom. I wonder if we're going to see our friend Helen here. Yes, we do see our friend Helen here. Hi, Helen. Helen is one of my mentors, and she was one of the gals who helped me get my first book published. Love you if you're listening. Fans in Georgia got a treat from AWA's second day, where they were presented with the Anime Encyclopedia, the latest book, Stonebridge Press, $25 ISBN, blah, 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 blah. From anime fans and authors Helen McCarthy, pictured, and Jonathan Clements. I am an encyclopedia, hear me roar, McCarthy joked as she dropped the thick, heavy, 576-page book on the table during her panel discussion. The authors collaborated on previous volumes that tell the history of erotic anime and works released in English, but the new book expands on the works to include nearly every anime show and more and movie release through publishing time. It's an extensive and nearly obsessive book that should answer nearly every question that anime fans have about their favorite shows. The listings are as much as reviews as they are cast and production lists, and they consider anime as part of a long history of cinema and not just cartoon shows. There's going to be a campaign for fans to nominate the book for a Hugo Sci-Fi Award given at the next World Science Fiction Convention. AWA also sold copies of the book, and the proceeds were donated to the American Red Cross Liberty Disaster Relief Fund. It's significant that an anime book written by British authors given its debut in the United States. While fandom grows in North America, it declines in Great Britain, said Steve Kite. Oh no. One of the British authors who traveled to AWA in the mid 90s, anime's popularity was on the rise in the UK, and magazines such as Anime UK, Anime FX, Manga Mania, and Manga Max were popular. But those magazines folded, and the British Anime Convention saw their attendance dwindle. What kills magazines isn't sales, it's distribution, said Kite about the defunct Anime FX. We found that people couldn't find magazines and we couldn't get them on newsstands in Britain to survive. We needed to get it into news agents like W.H. Smith. We tried and tried to get distribution deals and finally realized we couldn't do it. With no secure distribution, Anime FX disappeared. The spiritual successor to Anime UK was Manga Max, but that magazine folded in 2000. What killed Manga Max was a Titan Publishing, Clement said. I was called into a room by the management and was told I had fulfilled all the terms of my contract. But the way the company was organized, they were unable to provide distribution and marketing to the American market. Titan had spoken, bringing Manga Max back, but that hasn't happened. Although there were people at Titan who were very committed to Manga Max, there were other people who were glad to see it go because they didn't understand Japanese animation. Call this report costume actors and fans who Alright, let's repeat that again. Oh, Anime Week Atlanta, Tiffany Grant, and just Calvello. We're used to seeing actors, Tiffany Grant in a costume from a character she plays, but isn't that a Star Trek uniform? And what is that blue-haired outfit that Jessica Calvello is wearing? Fans got those answers at an Anime Weekend Atlanta panel featuring the actors. Grant got the Star Trek uniform because a friend who was also a Star Trek fan encouraged her to get the outfit. And Calvello got a Shiokaze outfit to promote her work in the Virgin Fleet series produced by Central Park Media. However, Calvello recently was really interested in discussing the new Boogie Pop Phantom release from The Right Stuff, in which she had a major role in the first episode. People compare Boogie Pop to Serial Experiments Lain, but it doesn't really compare to Lain except that it's twisted, Calvello said. Boogie Pop was also was very hard work for Calvello. You'll hear actors often say that they wish they could reform a role all over again, but Calvello turned that wish into reality. She didn't like her work on the first Boogie Pop episode and pleaded with the producers to let her revoice her part. For once, the producer relented and brought Calvello back in the studio. I redid every single line. There was one line the director wanted to keep from the first season, and we did, said Calvello. I feel really great in getting a chance to do it the way I wanted to do it. It was really an amazing day. Grant got a similar opportunity when Neon Genesis Evangelion movies were dubbed, and she entered the studio to reprise her role of Asuka. Much of the first movie is made of clips from the first 26 episodes, 26 Evangelion, from the 26 Evangelion TV episodes, which meant that Grant revoiced many Asuka lines. It was so bizarre, she commented. And more bizarre, downright creepy, she said, was the fate of the Arlington Road film in which Grant appeared as an extra. That movie, starring Jeff Bridges, includes a terrorist bombing as a plot point, and one review said the simulated TV news reports on the film were eerily close to the real reports that followed the September 11 terrorist attacks. By the way, I actually did watch Arlington Road. It's actually streaming on Amazon if you have a Prime account. When you watch it just kind of at face value, not knowing when it was released, okay, it's like your standard terrorist next door kind of movie. But when you realize it was released a few months before 9/11, it kind of has like this very eerie kind of vibe to it. With that in mind, with that context in mind, I highly recommend giving it a watch. It's like one of the more underrated movies to come out in 2001. All right. It seemed likely an exuberantly irrational decision in mid-July. There were two anime conventions in two cities, 1,200 miles apart on the same weekend. Why not go to both? Check the airline schedules for the conventions and book the flights and head out out on the great otaku adventure. From home to Denver and Nadeshiko on Friday, and to Georgia and Anime Week in Atlanta on Saturday, and back home on Sunday. Kevin, what are you doing? But then came September 11. The freedom of travel that the author enjoyed for 4 years of attending anime conventions seemed to be blown away with the World Trade Trade Center and part of the Pentagon. Instead, looking ahead to 4 flights in 3 days, the author was faced with a tough decision of whether it was possible or appropriate to head to conventions. The convention organizers helped make the author's decision easier. First came the declaration for Anime Week in Atlanta. Our duty as Americans is to continue being free and thinking free and acting free and doing all we can to show these people we cannot be caged and imprisoned by fear and terror. We will always be free as long as we think and do free. We have nothing to fear but fear itself. In that light, AWA will go on as scheduled. We will not be turned into cowards by cowards. Then, Becca Norman of Nadeshiko announced that this Colorado event would not be stopped. The convention stands for a number of things that terrorists would love to crush. Freedom, for one, the ability to learn, to hear, be, do, and see, and things that are new and wondrous. Safety, for another, a place we strive to make that is good and safe for young people to reach out and reach towards their potential. And friendship, in a place where we believe that every individual who tries to build a bridge to another in this world makes a difference. So the author decided to head to the airport and hoped that his flight would take place. Amazingly, despite the airline industry's woes and tight security, the author breezed through his trips with no problems. Delta Airlines deserves a lot of credit for keeping their and their planes in service and running their flights so they arrive ahead of schedule. The author's red-eye flight from Denver to Atlanta arrived 30 minutes early. The two-flight Friday trip to Denver went without a hitch. The only problem came when the author walked outside the Denver terminal, caught his huge feet on the sidewalk, and fell on his face. Luckily, the author landed face down, an impact that preserved the webpage equipment he was toting on the back of his backpack. The author only had 12 brief hours at Nadeshiko, although he left a backup camera in hopes that someone with the convention could get pictures of the Saturday night costumers. By the way, the Holiday Inn, located 9 miles south of the Denver International Airport, turned out to be a good place to hold Nadeshiko. The attached convention center had more than enough room for all convention events. It required a long circuitous walk to get from the hotel's lobby to the main events hall. But one fan noted was nothing compared to the quarter-mile treks at Anime Expo. The author's Friday night return to the Denver airport for a red-eye flight to Atlanta produced some oddities. Major airports usually stay busy at all hours, but the Denver terminal was all but deserted. Part of that might be the Denver curfews on late night operations, but part of also might be people's reluctance to fly after the terrorist attacks. And the author learned another valuable lesson about human tendencies when he passed through the Denver security checkpoint. Since the hijacking that led to the attacks were apparently staged by men wielding knives, the federal government banned passengers from carrying sharp objects on board planes. Even though the restrictions had been heavily publicized for a week before the author's flight, the Denver security station still had 2 plastic tubs half filled with scissors, files, clippers taken from passengers, and those tubs were surrounded with dozens of seized Swiss Army knives. Late at night, the loudest noises came in Concourse C at Denver were vacuum cleaners, but there was a plane sitting at the gate, and the author headed to Atlanta for a convention that would not give up. Anime Week in Atlanta had the largest facility in its 7-year history and packed with a big and enthusiastic crowd on Saturday. A friend who operated a booth in the dealer's room said he did more business through mid-Saturday than he had done at an entire anime convention earlier in the year. Another friend observed that after the previous week's trauma and the spate of event cancellation, that people had cabin fever and were looking for something else to do. Ironically, AWA faces another search for a home after 2002. As the adjacent Hartsfield International Airport is going to expand a south runway and the hotel and convention center AWA used is going to be torn down and make room for airplanes. The convention's organizers are fortunate that their events came a week and a half after the events. Had the conventions been scheduled immediately after the devastation, travel would have been so difficult and the emotional wounds so raw that it would have been hard to justify moving on. Many convention websites, including the two events held in late September, acknowledged the disaster with messages of sympathy and links to pages that offered assistance and chances to donate funds for that assistance. NonEscon acknowledged the tragedy by staging a moving opening ceremony under American flag that mourned the nation's losses and celebrated the free and enthusiastic spirit of anime conventions. On Saturday of AWA, costumer Ellie wore an outfit she made from American flag material bought at a Walmart and created her response to previous week's events. The attacks really captured the attention of the nation, and the author couldn't help but note the connections to his life as a convention fan and to the people he has met. Studio Art and Cat, located in Virginia, had an office volunteer whose relatives work at the Pentagon. Immediately after the attack, those relatives had not been found. They surfaced shortly afterwards unhurt. The Pentagon is a couple of miles from the 2,000 sites of Katsucon and Anime USA, and the airliner that hit the Pentagon took off from Dulles International Airport in Virginia, from which the author had traveled during his animazement trips. Another flight had been reprogrammed to fly from Cleveland to Washington National Airport, where the author had stopped 6 times on trip to Katsucon and Otakon. The attacks in New York struck Manhattan, not far from the locations that had been planned for Big Apple Anime Fest. Several of these actor friends, Crispin Freeman, Lisa Ortiz, Rachel Lillis, and Jessica Calvello, live or work in New York. Thankfully, all were unhurt, although one of those actors had been in the World Trade Center on the day before the attack. The Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, where Anime Express is held, may unknowingly have trained one of the hijackers. And there was the film Arlington Road, in which actor Tiffany Grant appeared as an extra. In that movie, actor Jeff Bridges played a college professor who was duped into being the fall guy for a terrorist bombing in Washington, D.C. Consider the bitterly cruel irony that a piece of fiction would turn into prophecy. Now compound that with another brand of cruelty. The assaults on people in America who happened to be considered Arab or Islamic were attacked because some frustrated people thought they were too close to being like those said to be responsible for the attacks. But for those who would condemn Islam, consider a story about the faith's true power, tempered by the American attitude towards fairness and justice and an individual's ability to change. The story is about a man who near at the end of his life preferred to be known as El Hajj Malik El Shabazz. He was born Malcolm Little and best known to Americans as Malcolm X. During his days as a fiery spokesman for the black Muslims, El Shabazz was as hated as today's faceless terrorists, and Malcolm X once carried as much hatred of whites in the United States as those terrorists. But El Shabazz had a sense of justice and went far beyond anything by those who chose to destroy unknown lives. He wanted to reform, not kill, and his hatred of whites was driven by the lynching of his father, disappearing once El Shabazz made a pilgrimage to Mecca, Islam's holy city. The sight of thousands of Muslims of all colors, nationalities, peacefully circling the Kaaba, convinced El Shabazz that his disdain of whites was wrong, but his sense of justice was right. He returned to the U.S. a changed man, still calling for an end of racial prejudice, but no longer demanding the death of the white race. His move away from pure radicalism cost El Shabazz his life when he was shot down in a Harlem ballroom that was located a few miles from the site of the September 11 terrorist attacks. El Shabazz's epiphany was driven by Islam, but it was the sort of moral change that America seems to generate. The moral change that ended Jim Crow in the 1960s. That same American morality rebuilt Japan from a warlike nation into a peaceful country, making anime conventions possible. The miracle of anime conventions is the way they have shown that people can overcome hate and the terrors of war. It's true, Americans hated the Japanese after the attack on Pearl Harbor 60 years ago, a time period that's barely a tick on the longer clock of the world history. But consider that there are still bitter feuds around the world that continue from battles that happened hundreds of years ago. Other countries might still condemn Japan for the 1941 attacks, but not anime fans. Japanese artists and their work are welcome in the U.S. few generations after that war. There's no hatred of Japanese at conventions, just an appreciation of the mix of American Japanese cultures that makes a vibrant anime, manga, J-pop, J-rock, and video game art forms possible. At Otakon, 1 month before the terrorist attacks, we saw the amazing experience of a room packed with fans who hung on every word of Hikaru Midorikawa. He appeared before that delighted room full of people just a couple of days after the anniversaries of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. No one at Otakon noted those anniversaries. They were too busy celebrating the talent of a man who came from the culture of war, who had been transformed into a culture of peace. And a profound statement about the aftermath of the war and anime fandom came from Otakon in 2000 from Yasuke Ueda, creator of Serial Experiments Lane. For many countries, World War II left a lot of scars. As for Japan, this generation has forgotten about the war. They really don't look back. My grandparents died in the atomic bombing. I don't feel any hatred or regret. Basically, I want to keep going forward. And that's it for Kevin Lillard's report on Anime Weekend Atlanta 2001. And before we sign off, I also want to just make mention of my book, The Fangirl Diaries. The Fangirl Diaries is all about anime culture, girlhood, millennial culture in a time before streaming and social media. So if you really like this time period of fandom, the 90s and the 2000s, you should check out my book, and you can read about like my experience navigating fandom and my experience attending conventions. So if you've attended conventions like Anime Expo, Fanime, you get to read about the early days of it in this book. And with that said, thank you so much for joining us. Donate to our Ko-Fi if you love what we do. We really appreciate any donations, tips to help keep the show going. Fansview Fridays is a labor of love. This is just my way to honor the memory of Kevin Lillard, who's one of my... I really feel that Kevin Lillard is one of the pioneers and legends of the anime community, and I want to make sure that his legacy is not forgotten. He left a legacy of a website called Fansview. While it might no longer be online, this is just our effort to rescue what we can of what Kevin brought to the community. And with that said, if you like what we do, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to our channel. It really means a lot when we have subscribers. Please interact with this video. Please give me a comment. Share me a favorite memory you have of Anime Weekend Atlanta 2001. And with that said, thank you so much for tuning in. I always appreciate seeing familiar faces here on Fansview Friday. And next week we'll be at WonderCon, so we're probably going to take a little bit of a hiatus for the next 2 weeks, and we'll be back in 3 weeks with our next event. And with that said, thank you so much, and have a nice rest of your evening, and do enjoy your stay here at my virtual cottage.